this lesson, we will take an introductory look at decimals, such as the one shown here. In doing so, we will examine topics such as place value operations with decimals and rounding. Now to begin, we should recognize that whenever we write a number, we are essentially creating a recipe for expressing some value. For example, in the number 743, the digits 7, 4 and 3 are in the places that represent hundreds, tens and ones. The 7 in the hundreds position tells us our number consists of 7 100ths or 7 times 100. The 4 in the tens position tells us our number consists of 4 tens, and the 3 in the ones position tells us our number consists of 3 ones. So the number 743 represents the value of the following sum. That notation is just an extension of this. So here 8 and 2 represent 8 tens and 2 ones. Continuing in a similar manner, the digit to the right of the decimal represents fractional power of 10. So the first digit to the right of the decimal represents tens. So the 7 in this position tells us our number consists of 7 tens. Similarly, since the 4 here is in the 100ths position, our number consists of 4 100ths, and since the 3 is in the 1000 position, our number consists of 3 1000. So the value of the number 82.743 is equal to the sum on the right hand side. Alright. Now let's take a closer look at the place value to the right of the decimal. The first digit represents tens, the second digit represents hundreds, the third digit represents thousands, and so on. Now an important feature of decimal notation is that if you take a decimal and add 0 to the last digit after the decimal place, the value of the number is not changed. Here's why. If, for example, we examine the number 5.32, we see that it represents the sum of 5 ones, 3 tens and 2 100ths. If we add 2 zeros to the end of this, all we are doing is adding 0 thousands and 0 ten thousands to the sum, and this will have no effect on the value of the number. Alright, that's how place value works. Now let's examine how to perform operations on decimals beginning with addition and subtraction. Now, to add and subtract decimals, the rule is to line up the decimals and add any required zero to the end before adding or subtracting. So, for example, to find this sum, we first line up the decimals vertically. Then, to make it easier to add our digit, we might add some next to 0, and at this point we can add digits, being sure to keep the decimal place in the same location. Now the rule of subtraction is the same. To perform this subtraction, we first line up the decimals and then add any necessary zero to make the calculation easier. At this point we subtract while keeping the decimal in the same location. Alright, now let's examine multiplication. For multiplication, we should first count the total number of digits that are to the right of each decimals. Then ignore the decimals and find the products. Once we have a product, we take the decimal place and move it to the left based on the total number of digits that were originally to the right of each decimal. Alright, now apply this to the following product. First, observe that there is a total of 4 digits to the right of the decimal. At this point, we can ignore the decimals and find the product. Now, at the moment, the decimal place is right here. Since we originally had a total of 4 digits to the right of our decimals, we must now move this decimal place 4 spaces to the left. We get the following product. Okay, now let's look how to divide decimals. The steps here are as follows. First, move both decimals until the divisor becomes an integer, and then divide and keep the decimal in the same location. So, to divide this number, let's first rewrite the division this way. Now, before we can divide, we must take our divisor here and turn it into an integer. by moving the decimal 2 spaces to the right to get 285. Now since we move the decimal in the divisor 2 spaces to the right, we must also take the dividend and move the decimal 2 spaces to the right to get the following number. At this point, we are ready to divide 285 into 4354.8. First, 285 divides into 435 by 1 time. And we will now multiply 285 by 1 and to get 285. At this point, we will subtract this from 435 to get 150. From here, we will drop this 4 down and continue. Next, 285 divides into 1504 5 times. So now, we will multiply 285 by 5 to get the following, which we will subtract from 1504 to get 79. From here, we will drop this 8 down and continue. 285 divides into 798 2 times. And 285 times 2 gives us 570, which we subtract to get 228. At this point, we must continue to divide until we are left with no remainder. So let's add 0 to the end of this and then drop it down here. Next, 285 divides into 2280 8 times, and 8 times 285 gives us 2280, which we subtract to get 0. At this point, we have the remainder of 0, which means we are done. The quotient is 15.28. Okay, the last topic we will examine is rounding decimals. To set this up, let's first remind ourselves of the place values. Now when it comes to a rounding number to a certain place, we must first go to that place value and then examine the next digit that lies to the right of that place value. That next digit is 0, 1, 2, 3 or 4. Then we will round the number down. And if the next digit is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, then we will round the number up. Here's what I mean. If we want to round this number to the nearest tenth, then we first locate the digit in the 10th position. Here the digit is 3. Now since the digit to the right of the 3 is at 8, we are going to round the 3 up to 4 to get 7.4. Similarly, if we want to take this number and round it to the nearest thousands, we first locate the digit in the thousandth position and then examine the digit to the right of it. Since this digit is 1, we must round our number down to 15.03. Okay, let's try one more. To round this number to the nearest 100, we first locate the digit in the 100th place and then examine the digit to the right of it. Since the next digit is a 5, we must round our number up to 0.37. Okay, let's summarize. In this lesson, we learned the place value of decimals, we learned how to perform operation on decimals, and we learned how to round decimals.